All right, yo, what's up? My name's Patrouski. I've been playing PokeMMO since 2013. I have over 10,000 hours in this game, and I firmly believe that one of the most important things of keeping an MMO healthy and a game healthy is understanding the plights and the feelings that a new player feels when playing PokeMMO. A casual player experiences when they load up the game for the first time, how it feels to try to get into the game, because MMOs especially are known to be very complex, very difficult, very hard to get into. They require a lot of time and effort, and you have to understand you don't need to balance around new players entirely, but they should be considered. Usually people always say, oh, don't balance the game around hardcore players. That's too, it isolates too many people. I agree with that. I also don't think we should balance the game around casual players. I think it should probably be in the middle, right? Really boring, cold take, but we probably should be somewhere in the middle where what's the hardcore player, what the best player can do should be like balanced around, and what the casual player, what the average player is able to do should be balanced around. Now, I want to react to and talk about this video today. I've only seen the first 2 minutes, so we're going to jump into it. This is called Is PokeMMO Worth Playing in 2025, made by It's Phantom Fam. We're going to go ahead and jump into it. Thanks to him for making this video. It'll be linked in the description. As always, when it comes to react content, I really want to make something transformative and add to it with my thousands of hours and years of experience. That's the whole point of this. I think I can adequately add to this. So let's go ahead and jump into what he has to say.
PokeMMO, the largest Pokemon MMO on the market, has been growing rapidly the past few years.
Especially since, I'm going to pause a lot, 2021, I myself started making content, as well as a lot of other people, and it really just snowballed a lot from there. Ever since 2021, and then into like the 10-year anniversary event in 2022, I believe, into Johto in 2023, we saw a lot of big updates, a lot of big changes that have just snowballed the game's progression immensely.
Its fair share of good updates and a few recent updates that have come under scrutiny.
I wonder if he'll bring up incubators and jump buckets, and what I'm curious of his thoughts.
I've put a fair bit of time into PokeMMO myself, and recently I started a new account to see what PokeMMO has to offer for a new player experience.
So I don't think this, so they're not like a true new player, but he wants to experience it through a new account. There's still value there for sure.
We'll go over what I like about
I actually try to start a new account every at least 1 or 2 years to do this kind of similar thing, usually make a challenge out of it.
The game, what I don't like, how the devs have been updating the game and the controversy surrounding a recent update, and finally, whether or not PokeMMO is the right Pokemon MMO for you. Let's start with what I like. One of the things I like a lot is the community. The community in this game is incredible. It is
really sweet and really fortunate. It's almost always one of the #1 things people mention immediately is the community.
It's the largest player base by far of any Pokemon MMO on the market, which comes with a huge dedicated community that truly love this game. If you are looking for a community to get involved into and one that'll stick to this game till its dying breath, this is the Pokemon MMO for you. There's also
MMO players in general are just very dedicated generally.
So what I like is a lot of YouTubers that play and make videos.
It sounds silly. Obviously, I'm a YouTuber, so I'm also fucking biased. We really underappreciate I grew up playing PokeMMO and there were no content creators. Like there was nobody. I would follow anybody who streamed PokeMMO on Twitch, even for like 2 seconds. It was so hard. There were no YouTube videos. There was no guides. I tried to be the Pokemon content creator that I wanted growing up. That's what I always say. I would have loved a daily content creator for PokeMMO. It would have made me so happy and engaged growing up.
For this game that really pump out.
Guys, you might need to turn your speakers up. It is so loud on my end. It's cranked all the way up. I think it's a speaker. You got to turn your speakers up, as Soulja Boy once said.
I really enjoy the
fact
I ain't your
daddy.
At any
turn your
given
speakers
time,
up.
There's going to be 1 or 2 or even 5 new videos of different YouTubers uploading on PokeMMO every single day. So if you're playing this game and you want to listen to or even watch videos while you're playing, this is super easy to do with PokeMMO. Naturally, I'm a huge proponent for YouTubers, seeing as I am one myself, and I really enjoy playing games and watching YouTubes. I just said YouTubes. I sound like a 90-year-old. Regardless, I like watching videos, and this game has a ton of videos to keep you occupied while you're playing the game. Another thing is they have player and official events going on all the time. So if there's not an official event going on, most likely somebody is creating a community event that there's something to be doing almost every day in the game, which is really cool.
Your audio is cooked. My PC is at 100 volume. My Streamlabs desktop audio is at maximum. Everything's at max volume. You need to. Your audio is cooked. Turn your speakers up. I'm sorry you listen to your iPod at 500% volume on your fucking way to the bus stop in high school. Okay, your ears are cooked. My shit's turned all the way up. I'm sorry.
Well, the community is
Okay. All right, we are post crash out. We can get back to the React pod.
which is really, really cool. The community is really top notch on Pokemon.
But yes, he was talking about daily events. Dude, people don't realize there is a PvP tournament every single day in PokeMMO. Literally every day, an automated PvP tournament. You can head over to the in-game menu, go down to the bottom right, go to the Pokeball. Let me show it really quick. And then click tournaments, and you can see current tournaments. There's a doubles tournament tomorrow. I think there literally was an NU tournament. Yeah, an NU tournament today as I'm recording. A doubles tournament tomorrow. Two doubles tournaments tomorrow for some reason. An OU tournament on the 31st. There's more upcoming. Usually they will schedule more out as well in between these. But there's like so many PvP events almost every day. There's 3 catch events every single week as well, which is more geared towards the average player. I don't PvP, so I usually do those. There are so many catch events every day that are like super friendly to all types of players. It's one of the most underrated parts of PokeMMO. All my stream recaps, I constantly like call out the upcoming catch events and stuff because it's a lot of fun. It's a way to get involved with the community and usually win overarching prizes.
PokeMMO. Another thing I really enjoy is the fact that you get to play through 5 different regions. They are fully fleshed out regions. There's no like small little bits in here and there. It's a full playthrough every single region from Kanto all the way to Unova. I really enjoy this aspect of the MMO. You get each playthrough, you can build your own team, which makes each playthrough special. It makes each playthrough actually take its time. It feels like you're playing through a genuine Pokemon game while you're playing PokeMMO. It feels like what we would want out of an official Pokemon game with official regions. This one's got you covered, even though
1000%. I think it's the best way to put it. Is like all the regions are so seamlessly integrated. It just feels like an official Pokemon game put together.
it is unofficial. Now, the playthroughs are genuinely difficult as well. So beating each Elite Four is...
There is increased AI in PokeMMO as well as like items. We always talk about like there's a fire gem Growlithe that just randomly roams on like the SSN. There's random gems around. Blaine is one of the hardest gym leaders in all of PokeMMO. He has a ton of access to coverage, things like Wild Charge on his Rapidash, Solar Beam on his Rapidash. He sets up Sun with like Ninetales or like Drought Torkoal. There's so many crazy things to like plan around. If you just run a water team into a fire gym in PokeMMO, the odds are you're gonna lose. You can't just do typing. You have to also factor in power and counterplay and predict what your opponent's gonna use.
Is difficult, it's fulfilling, it's something you have to plan for, you have to make teams. Now, of course, there are ways to cheese things, and you can run certain things to make the game really easy to just try to rush your way through it. But realistically, most people are making their own team, and they're just taking their time through the playthroughs, and that's exactly what I feel like you should do when you're playing this game, because this is the best part of the game, in my opinion.
This is a really interesting thing that he says. And this is a thing that I should keep in mind more. I hate the storyline runs. It's literally, it's my least favorite part of the game. I like getting to the end game and grinding, right? I hate the storyline runs. It's a pain in the butt to me. But a lot of casual players or the average player loves the storyline. So I often will give the advice of, hey, rush through the storylines and get to the end game. That's the real content. That's like telling Minecraft players, oh yeah, rush to beat the Ender Dragon, and that's where the content begins. And that's how I feel when I play Minecraft. But a lot of people, beat the Ender Dragon, feel lost, and then quit the game. So I kind of feel like I sometimes can set people up for failure in that way. So I need to start reminding myself and reminding other players, hey, if you like the storylines, take your time. If you don't, rush through. It should be that simple. I mean, it is that simple.
Opinion.
But it's interesting to hear.
The graphics are really solid because they're built on the actual ROMs of Pokemon. So you have to actually have the Fire Red ROM. And
I feel like the graphics in PokeMMO just like, it literally is like so far and above and beyond every other Pokemon MMO, in my opinion.
I think either black or white, or maybe black to white, so I can't remember which one specifically it is. But building off of these ROMs makes the graphics naturally be those ROMs graphics. And all the battles are done in Gen 5 graphics, which means you get Gen 5 sprites, which I think is easily the best Pokemon has ever looked.
Agreed.
Is in Gen 5. So I really enjoy the graphics.
I think Gen 5 is the best.
All of them come together as well in this charm that I feel is very welcome for the Pokemon community. I really enjoy the graphics in this game. The fact that all of this also can be played on your phone is incredible, and having it done with
mobile is still pretty new. PokeMMO's only been on mobile for, I want to say, 3 years. It's hard to remember exactly. They brought in a new developer for the first time in over a decade just to have someone be able to code the game in iOS. They took it that seriously, which I think that was a really smart move.
with ROMs helps with that transition and makes it super easy to play this game, and it feels very, very easy and inviting to play because of the graphics. I really enjoy it. I can't talk enough about the graphics. I think it's really, really solid. Lastly, I'm going to talk about it in things I like, even though I personally don't like it, but the PvP. I don't like PvP. I'm never a PvP person. I don't like PvP Pokemon. I like PvP in other games, but never in Pokemon. Just never.
I play it every now and again, but I'm mostly the same.
Never been something that I've enjoyed. I've just never, I genuinely dislike it really, really bad. But with that being said, this game is amazing if you do like PvP. What I really enjoy about it personally is there is a ladder system so that if I did want to get into PvP, I could at any moment just join the ladder. And there's even a ladder for like random Pokemon fights. So I just get a team of random Pokemon. I don't even have to build it myself. And
randoms are fantastic for new players because you don't have to build any of your raid teams or any of your PvP teams. Sorry, excuse me. One of the hardest parts of getting into PokeMMO PvP is just building the teams. And then also, after you build the teams, people that play PokeMMO PvP are really good. In my opinion, your average PokeMMO PvP player is better than your average Showdown player. Because people that play Showdown can just spew out a team and just like, you know, go into it. It's whatever. But in PokeMMO, you have to dedicate hours and hours and hours to building the team, spending the Pokeyen on the team. So when you do that, you take it a lot more seriously versus Showdown players will just like casually spam through games, right? Every game is taken with more delicacy in PokeMMO, and the average player, in my opinion, puts a lot more care and effort because they've put more cost into it.
And then can try to fight somebody and try to beat somebody with this random team. Now, I know there's a lot of randomness with that, but it also comes with a lot of skill because you have to see
very skill-based format for sure.
This random team that you're given and also adapt to the random team that you're fighting against.
It has some problems. I would love to see things like Jumpluff, Leech Seed Band, Shedinja Band, Wobbuffet, Doug Trio. There are some uncompetitive things in randoms that are not amazing. The over-reliance on stall in this current metagame, but overall randoms is a fantastic format.
Not only that, but it has a system in place where you can watch every person's battles. You can check the usage of each Pokemon. You can check the usage of each item.
PvP statistics are amazing. Most people know this. If you don't know, PvP stats are a resource in-game. You can literally just go straight up, go check what Pokemon are being used. You can see their win rates. You can see their most used items. You can see most common allies, most common natures, abilities. It's insane. It's such a powerful resource. But beyond that, I think one of the coolest resources, if you ever like try to get really, really good at a game, you know how important VOD reviewing is. And PokeMMO is one of the few Pokemon games, if the only one, where I've ever seen VOD reviewing available within the game itself, where you can go see all the tournaments, go see players, go see the best players. If I was new to PokeMMO and I wanted to get good at PvP, one of the first things, in my opinion, you should go do is go to the tournaments. I'll show you really quick. One sec. Go to the bottom right, like we talked about before. Go to the little Pokeball. Go to tournaments. Go to tournament history. Let's say I want to learn OU. What's the best, OU team? What's the best OU player? Let's go to this OU tournament. I can just go straight up, scroll down to the finals of this OU tournament and just straight up watch this game. That's insane that I can just go watch the highest of high-level games, see the meta, and then unfortunately see that this person's playing stall and close out my monitor and never actually look at that ever again. Holy fucking shit. Anyways, we're gonna go back to the video. Oh man.
You can see the setup of Pokemon.
Unlucky.
You can see all of this at a glance very easily. So it makes it, at the very least, I don't love PvP, but it makes entering PvP significantly easier.
It really does.
It makes it to where the transition,
other than like Showdown, PokeMMO is probably one of the best Pokemon games to get into PvP for.
Feels natural.
It feels
you
rewarding.
Can look at what's good, what's bad, what's having success, what's not. You can try something new. You can do different ladders because there's like OU, UU, all that kind of stuff. You can do so much. The PvP is about as fleshed out as you can in regards to PvP and Pokemon.
I want to stop and say this video is doing such a fucking phenomenal job at being a brief general overview of PokeMMO. I've played this game for so many hours. I always say when you become like so entrenched at something, it actually becomes harder, in my opinion, to explain it to the average person or to a new player. If someone asked me to explain PokeMMO in a few words, I don't know if I could. I'm going to sit there and yap and yap and yap. It's really, really hard for me to condense and zoom out and view things from a wide, like average casual perspective. So this guy's doing a great job at that.
Pokemon, and I think that if you are a PvP fan, you will love this game because they give you a lot of tools and a lot of things to make PvP as seamless and usable as possible. Now let's go over the things that I didn't like, but before we do, please keep in mind that this is just my opinion. This is how I see it. I've put in a decent amount of time in this game, but I'm not an expert in every aspect.
The things that
please don't.
The things that with the I know he's not like a new player, but with a newer player's perspective, even if what they don't like is like wrong or where they don't maybe didn't understand something, it's still important because that feeling is true, right? That feeling needs to be addressed, right? If a new player starts to play PokeMMO and is like, oh, I feel like there's no endgame content, right? Well, if you play PokeMMO, you know there is a ton of endgame content. However, the feeling, that sentiment they're speaking to, there is some truth to it, right? If you take it and you try to like be charitable and understand, what does that player really mean when they're saying that? Well, in my opinion, what it means is, I'm a new player. I don't know how to set goals for endgame, and I don't know what the endgame has to offer. And I think that is a really true problem that we have in PokeMMO. There is so much endgame content, but most players don't know what that endgame content looks like, how to get started, how to set your own goals. And that's really tough. And I think that's taking the complaints and being charitable and twisting them into an actual thing we can work on is really, really important.
Flame me in the comments if you just completely vehemently disagree with me. This is just how I see it, and this is what I think about this game and what I don't like. The first thing I have to say is the difficulty of setup. Now, I know most people that play this game have already set it up and have already know the process and have done it probably.
No, this is actually so fucking true. He's going to explain how like getting ROMs and stuff is... People that play PokeMMO often don't realize or forget how difficult it is to install the game. If you have, any sort of tech understanding or, yes, it is somewhat easy because we understand, but like the average younger player doesn't. I don't think people realize how many people don't play PokeMMO because they just don't want to install it. Don't want to go through that. It's very easy to stop because we know it's easy. It's easy because we know it. We're used to it. We're boomers, right? But a lot of people who aren't used to that sort of installation, they'll just never play. And that sucks. We're missing out on so many players because of that.
Multiple times.
To be fair, I don't know if there's a way around that.
Even done it on your phone, things like that, but it's not as simple as other Pokemon MMOs on the market.
Yep.
Other Pokemon MMOs on the market, you click download and you play the game. This one has more setup. You have to have the ROMs in order to play this, and you have to be able to install those ROMs in the game. Now, it's not difficult. It's genuinely not difficult, but it is a hurdle that new players...
He's so right. It doesn't need to be difficult, but it is just one extra hurdle, and that hurdle stops people.
Players will have to jump over.
He's so right here.
Normal for other Pokemon MMOs, and it's a good thing that it's like this because I think it gives it longevity, and I think it's a good thing for the game overall.
Yep.
But I will say that is something that a lot of people are going to struggle with, and I know this.
And I don't think there's even a way to fix it. It's just a downside of PokeMMO.
Because
there's just positives and negatives
all the time on how to do something, and you'd be surprised at something that seems easy for somebody might not be very easy for others. So just know that if you are not terribly technically inclined, this might be a little bit more difficult for you. If it is difficult for you, I have a video linked in the description going over how to play PokeMMO. So I have you covered if you don't know how to do this, but that is just something to keep in mind. And I know that you veteran players know how to do this, but some of the new players are going to have problems with this.
Yep.
Also, I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here because I can already hear someone saying it in the comments. They're going to say something along the lines of, well, it's like this because they don't want to be sued by the Pokemon company. I promise you, at any moment, at any time of the day, the Pokemon company could come to PokeMMO and say, get off our market.
This is a tough one. I'm not a lawyer. I mean, they could. Anybody can sue anybody. That's the thing, right? I'm not a lawyer. From my understanding, based on, and copyright law is very subjective. There are metrics that need to be met, but copyright law, from my understanding, is literally a persuasive battle in court. You're trying to, like any court case is, but like more than most things, it's a persuasive battle. You're trying to argue things. I don't know if Nintendo could beat PokeMMO in a legal battle, but the thing is, I don't know if they need to. I think that if they wanted to take down PokeMMO, they could, but the way that they would do it is they would just war of attrition them in court. I think the strat would be to just drain out their funds because they're Nintendo and they have the funds and Pokemon probably doesn't. That would probably be the problem. However, it would be such a bad look for them. They already do this, I guess, but like Pokemon's bigger than people realize. It'd be such a bad look. There's no reason to. I always say, I don't feel like PokeMMO and traditional Pokemon are competing over the same market. I don't think anybody is like, oh, I was gonna buy the new Pokemon game, but instead I'm gonna play Pokemon. I don't think anybody does that. Most Pokemon players that I know buy the new Pokemon game, play it for 2 weeks, and then come back to PokeMMO. Because PokeMMO has the longevity and has like the end game that modern Pokemon games don't have, and the difficulty, right? But modern Pokemon games are still fun. It's either people like me who would have never played the modern Pokemon games, like I just have not played one since Gen 6. I would have never played them in the first place, or it's people like, you know, my other people that I know who buy the new game, play it for 2 weeks and finish it and just come back to PokeMMO. I don't think they're competing over the same market, in my opinion.
Are now closed. Here's a cease and desist, and they would have to listen. There is nothing stopping the Pokemon Company, the largest
He's kind of not wrong. If they came after them, I think they could win a war of attrition.
media franchise of all time.
But I'm not a lawyer. I don't know.
Coming in and shutting down PokeMMO. I hate that there's this rumor that suddenly, like, they had to do this certain thing, like they did the ROM, so it's legal. There's nothing legal about what
I'm not a lawyer. I don't think that's true.
PokeMMO is doing.
I don't think that's true.
They are allowed to exist by the Pokemon Company. And I don't know why the Pokemon Company allows this and not other things, but I promise you, I don't see any evidence. And I would love if you genuinely have evidence that they were.
I've done a few videos talking about this topic and talking about it's like arguably a legal gray area, but from my understanding, there is no copyright infringement.
Given a cease and desist, and then they changed some things to make sure they're compliant. If that is the thing, and I want to see that, I genuinely want to see that, but I have never heard other than anecdotal evidence of people saying that, and then other people spew that nonsense. I think it's nonsense. I think the Pokemon Company could shut PokeMMO down and all.
I mean, once again, he's the argument. I'm not gonna harp on this too much. Anything could any company can sue anybody for any reason. It's a matter of, will the argument stick? Will they win in court?
All the Pokemon MMOs with a snap of a finger if they wanted to. They don't. I don't know why they don't, but I promise you they could. They're a massive company. You are using their IP. It doesn't matter. You can't just get away with it because you're using it on a ROM. Okay.
Okay. Sorry, this is wrong. So, emulators are perfectly legal, right? So maybe I'm misunderstanding what he's trying to say, but it sounds like he's saying, like, no, an emulator, PokeMMO is essentially a fancy emulator that allows for online play, okay? Emulators are perfectly legal. That's why PokeMMO is legal. You can dump your legally owned ROMs, like we all do, off of our Pokemon cartridges, and then play PokeMMO. That's totally fine. The only illegal thing is illegally downloading and stealing the games online, right? Emulators are fine. Emulators are not illegal. It's that the illegal acquiring and distribution of the ROMs that's the problem. Okay. Maybe I'm misunderstanding, but I think that he is just wrong about that. But I could be misunderstanding.
Tangent over back to the things I don't like. And the next thing, after defeating the regions, there really isn't a ton of things for players to do that are PvE focused. Make sure you hear.
So it's funny. I literally just brought this up. There is, however, I do empathize and understand a lot of players don't know what those activities are and don't know how to set their own goals. It's very similar. Well, let's let him talk a little bit more.
That end part, PvE focused. If you like PvP, there's hundreds, if not thousands of hours to keep you occupied. But for somebody like myself, who I enjoy PvE content.
I've played PokeMMO for over 10,000 hours, and I don't play a whole lot of PvP, just for reference.
I really think after you beat the regions, there's not much to do. Other than, like, shiny hunting, which...
Didn't Nintendo take down Citra and Yuzu, though? I could be mistaken. I'm not as understanding of those cases, but wasn't that because they released a copy of, like, the new Zelda game before it had even released yet? That was because they, like, did a huge no-no where people were playing the new Zelda game before it was even physically fucking released yet. So, yeah, Nintendo got really fucking pissed and, like, yeah. But that's not because of... Yeah, an emulator... Emulators are fine.
Is its own thing, and if you like that, great, but if you don't, that's, you know, like, and I personally don't like that it's 1 in 30,000, so it's not something that, like, I don't view that as content necessarily.
Okay, I take issue with this video. You're just not viewing shiny hunting as content?
Don't like that it's 1 in 30,000. So
what?
That great, but if you don't, other than, like, shiny hunting, which is its own thing, and if you like that, great, but if you don't, that's, you know, like, and I personally don't like that it's 1 in 30,000.
Sure.
So it's not something that,
feel free
I
to
don't view that as content necessarily.
Feel free to disagree with liking shiny hunting or liking the rate. That's fine. That's an opinion.
Necessarily. And then, like, maybe
not viewing it as content that's like saying I don't like movies, so I just don't view it as media. That feels extreme to me.
Creating Pokemon and making them the best they can be. That's the next thing to do. But, like, outside
what did he say?
of that, eating Pokemon and making them the best they can be. That's the next thing to do. But like outside of that, yes, there are like raids and there's some later game stuff
He's naming a lot of content. There's raids, there's making good Pokemon, there's shiny hunting.
you can do, but that's only during event season, which will
That is a fair critique that raids are only during event season. I'm hoping they make them permanent soon. I wonder if he'll mention gym reruns, trainer reruns, the battle frontier is criminally underrated. There's so many things. Making your own goals, doing Nuzlocke, doing alt account runs, doing an Iron Man account like I'm doing.
why
I understand. The complaint of there not being enough endgame content for PokeMMO, there is some truth to it. Like I mentioned, he's kind of doing the same spiel that I hear from a lot of players. There is a lot of endgame content, but you have to make your own goals. I think people confuse PokeMMO for an RPG when it's a sandbox game or like an MMO sandbox. It's like saying Minecraft has no endgame content, which almost nobody, no guided endgame content. Yes, that's true. And we need to solve that. Don't get me wrong. That's a problem that we need to solve. Don't get me wrong. However, I don't like when people, and it's tough because, you know, I don't like people say there is no endgame content. It would be like saying there's no endgame content in Minecraft. No, there's tons of endgame content. You could literally build infinitely, but not everybody, what's it called? Not everybody wants to load up a notepad document and write down their own goals, which I understand. That's not for everybody's cup of tea, but there is content, just not content you want to do. Like he said, like shiny hunting's not content to him. It is content, just not content you like, which is fine. A lot of people quit PokeMMO after storyline runs, which is totally fair. I think with so many live service games nowadays, we've kind of forgotten, you know, we used to just buy Spyro, play the game, beat the game, and move on. And that was normal. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with playing PokeMMO until it's not fun for you and moving on. But then I don't like when people say like, oh, the game is bad because of that. You finished what you wanted to do. It's not the game's fault. It's your responsibility. You ran out of things that you wanted to do. You moved on. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But why blame the game? Why blame the game?
Reliance on event season, which will be the next point. But for this point, like outside of events,
I do agree. I wish raids and dungeons like that were available outside of event season. That seems silly to me. I don't get that.
And you completed the game, like I mean, I guess you could go to catch events. And
he's gonna do the same things. There's so much to do. Just not guided content. It is not. PokeMMO is not a game for people who want to be guided in their handheld, not to like disrespect, like it's a very open-ended game,
and that's about it. So I really think there's a lot that could be fleshed out with the PvE side of PokeMMO.
There is a lot that
hasn't been
true.
Done, that
there's always more
in other Pokemon MMOs. There's a lot of things to do in other Pokemon MMOs once you beat the Elite Four.
I don't know if this is I don't agree with this. As someone who's played pretty much every Pokemon MMO on the market, I think this is not true. There are some other things. I think PBO has like some really cool stuff and is working on some really interesting like big boss raids outside of just events. I don't know if there's that much more other PVM content in other Pokemon games, aside from like cooperative stories, which a lot of people really like cooperative stories in like Pro, I think, or Poke1 has those, that PokeMMO doesn't have. That's a really cool feature that'd be interesting to see. I don't think other Pokemon MMOs are doing so much more PVM content other than PokeMMO. I almost would argue PokeMMO, not to be biased, but I mean, I am, has more PVM content than those games as well. It's just less guided.
That I really think they need to get around to doing for PokeMMO. So let's talk about the reliance on event season. This is the last thing I talk about.
This is a big problem.
I don't like. Then we'll talk about some controversy about a recent update. But one thing I don't like about is the reliance on event season, and that's generally between like Halloween and Easter-ish. That time frame between like October and April is really like
it's like October to late February.
They're like event season, quote unquote. And I think the PokeMMO devs can kind of be a little too reliant on this time of the game to where it feels like if it's not during those times,
he is 1000% correct here.
You're kind of just playing the game and there's a lot less to do.
Okay, wait. The jokes write themselves. You're kind of just playing the game. I do agree. Event season is overloaded in content. The problem is preparation is so important for events, and preparation is so important for event season and for MMOs in general. Okay, so really, most people that I know start preparing for event season in like August. Right now it's August. Right, they start preparing for event season in August. Be ready for you want to prepare for everything in August. Be ready for Halloween on October 31st. Be ready for the Christmas event on December 25th, 26th. And then be ready for the Lunar New Year event on whichever day that falls that year. And then, so you start preparing in August. Halloween event comes around. That lasts from like the 31st to like the 15th or so in November on average. It's always different every year. 15th or so on average. And then you only have from the November, then you take like a 5-day break because event season's exhausting. You're playing a ton of hours a day, doing a bunch of content. So you take a 5-day break, go to like November 20th. Now you only have like November 20th until December 25th, which, by the way, if you're a normal person, IRL, you're Christmas shopping, you're spending time with family, you're organizing things, you're getting gifts, like you're doing a lot of other stuff. That's why it's so important to prepare prior to event season, so you're not like in the middle of event season being like, oh shit, I have to prepare these 10 raid Pokemon right now. I totally agree. Event season is super overloaded. It is go from like August to end of February, which sucks. However, the reason why it feels like we're just playing the game outside of, we probably should feel like we're just playing the game more often. Event season almost starts to feel not special enough because there's so many events all the time. I think sometimes people almost reverse the complaint of like, oh, there's too many events in PokeMMO. It's that there's too many events back to back to back. I really wish we could like, it's just hard because they're holiday events. I think it almost hurts because I love the Halloween event, but I think if we're going to get rid of one of the events, I think it's probably the Halloween one or the Christmas one, honestly, but I love those two. I love them, but adding a summer event instead, or just keep all the events and add a summer event, I think has been the general sentiment for a very, very long time. Yeah, if we had like 2-3 months between each event, exactly. I wish things were a little bit more spread out. I wish things were a little more spread out. I would have said Lunar New Year event. The PokeMMO Chinese player base is huge. I don't think they'll ever get rid of it. Like, as an American, I can be like, oh yeah, get rid of the Lunar New Year event, obviously. No, that's their best event, by far.
But then when those event seasons come around, there's a lot to do and there's a lot of things. I don't understand the idea of locking end game content behind these seasons.
I agree with this. I totally agree. I don't know why raids aren't permanent. They're working on it, I think.
That the way they've set up their in-game content,
I agree.
It would be broken if it's just available year-round. But I think
they need to balance
can
it around
balance the game around having content year-round.
He's spitting facts, 100,000%.
Seasons. And I think that event seasons are good. I think they're fun. I think they're enjoyable. I think that it's cool to be doing things like that. I'm all for that. But for whatever reason, all PokeMMOs do this. I don't know. Pokemon MMOs do this. All other Pokemon MMOs do this as well. They like wait for their big updates during this time. So it all kind of happens at once.
Yes, that's the other thing. So fun fact, PokeMMO didn't do this for a long time. For a very long time, PokeMMO almost never dropped big updates during the holiday season. They would almost always save those big updates for like the summer and drop the big update in the summer and then save, like they would almost never drop it. All of a sudden, over the past 3 years, they also started dropping all their big updates during the event season. I don't know why they started doing that. They dropped like the Heatran raid, the permanent Heatran raid last year, like during Christmas. Why? Why not save that content until like so you can distribute the content? But that made no sense to me. I don't get. He's spitting facts right now, 100,000%.
Like drought during the rest of the year.
Yeah, there is a content drought. I totally agree. From like March to August.
Spread those things out than to just have them jammed into that specific event season, especially between Halloween and Christmas. That's like the big season for all Pokemon MMOs, and PokeMMO is no different. It's kind of reliant on that, which I'm not the biggest fan of, and I wish, because I recently played through this game when it wasn't during that season, so it felt like, okay, I'm not getting the full PokeMMO experience because I'm not playing.
I wouldn't say that. I don't think you need event season to have fun in the game, like he's kind of making it phrased as. I think it's just like it's a special time. It's an extra cherry on top.
And within that event season, you could say that this gives you opportunity to get ready for event season during the off season, and you need some breaks to that. I think that's kind of cope though. I think that it's reasonable to have.
I think the base game should be the normal game, not the events. He's acting like the event season is the norm, which it should not be.
Consistent updates year round, and then maybe ramp it up a tad bit during that Halloween Christmassy area. But I think ultimately it's better and more healthy to have it spread out and to enjoy the game year round, so it doesn't feel like you're only playing for event season. So let's go over the updates of Pokemon.
Wait, I love his OT.
So
one sec.
Like ultimately, it's better and more healthy.
Sorry, this is important.
Spread out and to enjoy the.
His OT is Pokeball me Blazer. That's a banger. Is that a dodgeball reference? Okay, this guy just got like plus 20 points for that.
PokeMMO, and we'll go over some controversy when it comes to that just recently. That will.
I want to see
a little bit, but
his perspective.
What I do enjoy about this game. is that although they do tend to have the bigger updates be during event season, I do love that there is consistent updates with this game. And it feels like just in the past like 3 or 4 years, the game has updated a ton, and they've added a ton of stuff in regards to
we've been going through a renaissance over the past 3 to 4 years.
Like new ways to get good Pokemon, like alpha Pokemon. They've added legendaries, like roaming legendaries, like Zapdos. I'll just say the bird.
I mean, they added legendaries for the first time in Pokemon over the past 3 to 4 years. That's a new concept for us.
Dogs, you can get the birds and the dogs. Instead of listing all those, that'd be annoying. You can get all of those. They added things to do.
I respect that. Was a cute little add-on. I respect the instead of listing them all and shit. Yeah, birds and the dogs.
And I think that's really good. But
I like the way this guy yaps. I like his rambles, even if I disagree with him on the one. I think he fell into one of the typical casual player pitfalls. But also, I don't know how you get out of that pitfall as being a casual it's almost impossible. So I don't blame him for that, you know? I would blame, I do think there is a lot of in-game content in Pokemon. I do blame the game for not guiding the player a little more or giving a player a little bit more direction. You don't need a handhold, but I think, I've been saying for a long time, one of the best ways to solve the gap between players beating the storylines and then that's the hardest gap in the game, is people finish the storylines and then quit, right? An achievement log. I think an achievement log, something similar to old school RuneScape, would be a godsend for PokeMMO. It would give players a list of things to do and then knock off an achievement, get a little badge, get a little reward. I think that is one of the best things they could add to the game.
Been an update, and we're going to
turning average players into endgame players is the most important thing you can do. Besides getting new players in an MMO. We get a lot of new players, thankfully, but we don't do a great job of transitioning them into veteran players. That's our fault. The game and the community to some extent.
Controversy. I call it that. I don't think it's actually called anything, but that is what.
Wait, did he mention incubators? Let me see.
I call it that.
All right, one sec.
Update, and we're going to talk about it, called the egg incubator controversy.
I'm curious on his take. Generally, the casual players, I'm, the hardcore nerd dumbass version, right? Generally, my take is that they buffed eggs so much, which if you don't know, egg shunting is the rarest shiny hunting method in PokeMMO. And they buffed it recently in one update by, I think, 40%. And they plan to introduce a pay-to-win RP item that also is going to end up buffing it by around 300%. Not exactly, but around 300%. That is insane. As someone who loves shiny hunting, I'm okay with a 20 to 40% or 20% buff. 40% is insane. I'm okay with a 20% buff. I'm okay with power creep. I understand that as a veteran player. I understand power creep has to happen to keep people interested. I don't mind that. I'm a realistic hardcore player. I don't mind things getting a little easier over time. They will. I'm not the old school player who's like, oh, I had it hard, so you have to too. No, that's crazy. That makes no sense. It's illogical. I want what's best for the game. A 40% buff or a 300% buff in one update? Can you point me towards one example of where that's been done in a game from for a piece of content that wasn't just newly added to balance it out? Can you point me one example where that was a healthy change? Because I've never seen a game do a 300% buff and it be a good change ever. I can't imagine how that would ever be. I can't imagine that. Yeah, you went from being able to hatch 5 eggs in one inventory to 15 eggs with temporary incubators once they get added.
I call it that. I don't think it's actually called anything, but that is what recently has been happening, and everyone's been talking about this. So those of you that are new to this game, I'll try to catch you up on the controversy. So in PokeMMO...
So I'm curious, a lot of the casual players' perspective who don't egg shunt are just in favor of it blindly, from my perspective. Well, I shouldn't say that. The charitable take is there's two sides. There's the hardcore player like myself who is like, you want egg shinies to be rare. They're the rarest shunt in the game. They don't necessarily need to be accessible. Shiny hunting is accessible. You can free shiny hunt and get a shiny within 30 hours is the fastest one, right? Maybe 24 if you use certain things, right? There are accessible shunts. I don't think the most rarest shunt in the entire game needs to be more accessible. I think it's fine for that to be behind the most difficult thing in the game should be difficult. I don't think it's a hot take, but there is an argument that the average player has. If your argument is, I think that the special feeling of getting the rarest shiny in the game is still special enough after the buff, I think that's fine. I don't think people are wrong who are against or who are in favor of the change. I don't think they're wrong. But there has been a lot of bad argumentation from some of those players. That's the I don't mind. Both positions are valid. but there has been a lot of bad argumentation, so I'm kind of spoiled from that. So excuse me.
You can hatch eggs like you can in any other Pokemon game, and normally you'd have one Pokemon that you run around with and 5 eggs, so you can hatch 5 eggs at a time. What recently happened is they added both permanent and then we're gonna add temporary incubators.
They should be coming at the end of the month.
To hatch this faster. As of now, and I think still is the case, you can get 8 permanent incubators, so that means you can have 8 eggs hatching at a time while also being able to do anything else in the game. You don't have to actually have the Pokemon take up the slots. It'll be in a separate place where you can actually use the incubators. So that's already came under a lot of controversy. You came from 5 Pokemon,
which is a crazy buff, but also makes hatching more engaging. I think there's like a fair, like, incubators do have a place. I wish it was 6 permanent incubators would have been a 20% buff, as well at, well, minimum, as well as all the other I'm sorry, I also said 40% before. No, right now currently in game we have a 60% buff because it's from 5 to 8. So I'm terrible at math, but 6 permanent incubators I think would have been the way to go. It makes hatching more engaging. You can do other activities, as well as it's a small 20% is still pretty significant. A 20% buff. I think that's reasonable.
Being hatched at once to now, if you did the 5 in your inventory and you did 8, that's 13 being hatched at once. So it was already a huge buff. So it was already under a lot of scrutiny, but as of now,
wait, what did he say?
Huge, and you did 8. That's one being hatched at once to now. Already came under a lot of controversy. You came from 5 Pokemon being hatched at once to now, if you did the 5 in your inventory and you did 8, that's 13 being hatched at once.
I think he's misunderstood. You can't hatch eggs. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. You can't hatch eggs in your inventory anymore. So now it's just the 8. It's just the 8 at a time. Right now it's just the 8, but they're trying to add the 7 more temporary incubators at the end of this month.
So it was already a huge buff. So it was already under a lot of scrutiny, but as of now,
it's an easy misspeak.
I understand, all of those have already been added, and you can already use those now.
Yeah, permanent incubators are in. Yeah.
Most people didn't have a ton of problems with that. It just felt like it was a huge buff, and it was kind of like, okay, that's interesting. But they also...
That's a fair point. It might have been led with the story mode eggs. Yeah, the story mode eggs you probably still hatch in your inventory. That's a good call. It's an easy, doesn't matter. It's an easy mistake to make, not a big deal.
They have yet to add it. They put it on the back burner. I think they are kind of slowing it down and waiting for the controversy to kind of fly over before adding them. They're adding 7 more incubators that you can buy on the cash shops. So you can spend your real money to buy 7 more incubators.
I am shocked how many players are in favor of this.
Taking you up to 15 incubators and be able to hatch 15 eggs at one time, but of course only if you pay. And the reason why this is impactful is because a lot of people do hatch eggs in this game because they go for egg shinies, and there's a lot of stuff that's with that. I don't really want to go into all the intricacies of hatching and breeding in the game, but it is a pretty impactful process in the game. And just even hatching eggs, not even necessarily for shiny hunting, but you can even do it for, you know, getting real Pokemon, good Pokemon. You can make money by breeding Pokemon. So there was a lot of breeding, a lot of things going on, and this kind of just changed the game in a really heavy way. And a lot of people felt like adding those 7 incubators.
This happened right before Shiny War, the Super Bowl of shiny hunting, and it totally threw off every player. And they delayed Shiny War starting, which people had taken off of work, meal prepped for. They delayed Shiny War by a few hours. People like woke up at specific times, got perfect. Like, that was really bad. Love PokeMMO. That was a massive one of the biggest fumbles I've ever seen in history of PokeMMO was the way they handled the start of this year's Shiny War. Unfortunately, the war ended up being amazing, but
people to either pay
that start was rough
or pay to have somebody else sell that to them, because you can sell the in-game items with in-game money. You can sell it to other players. You can buy it from the cash shop and then sell it to other players for in-game money. And so in other words, you would have to have these incubators to be fully efficient.
Yep.
So it really felt like, yes, there are a little bit of pay-to-win aspects to the cash shop, but they're very minor, and they feel very like almost like not worth it necessarily for the pay-to-win. But this
that is true for I was gonna say this is
much feels worth it. Where like the biggest,
he has obviously he just agrees with me, so I'm biased. But he has a really good perspective. Like, after he gave the endgame content take, I was expecting him to be more of a casual player, but he's kind of more, I don't know, he's kind of all over. He's got his own takes. He's got his own man. I'm surprised. I respect. He has his own. I haven't seen. I respect this.
Biggest buff I think is like a 25% XP buff from like the quote unquote membership of PokeMMO. But for this, like that's almost 100% efficiency going from 8 to 15.
It's real. Well, it's really 5. We're going from 5 eggs to 15. It's a 300% buff.
It's like a 90, 85.
Plus the ability to do other activities and ×5 horde and other shiny hunts while you're hatching the eggs.
Better, like
it's over a 300% buff.
Pay money as opposed to if you didn't or if you had to buy it from somebody else. So it just seems a little too greedy. I think if there was maybe 1 or 2 temporary incubators, it would make sense. And if it went from like 8 permanent to like maybe 5, just to make it a little bit more reasonable, that would.
He's spitting facts. He knows the dialogue.
Makes sense. That's just my personal opinion, though. I would love to hear your guys' comments on the controversy in the comments down below. I know it's been a big topic recently with PokeMMO, and I'm very surprised that the devs have tried this. We'll see if they go through with it. I'm hoping they don't. I think it's really stupid if they do. But again, that's just my opinion. I'd love to hear the other side of it. I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments below. I know
the other side of it is that it makes the rarest shunt in the game more accessible to new players and more accessible to the average player, which is like something to consider. The problem is I don't think once again, I'm going to counter, the rarest shunt does not need to be accessible to the average player. That's okay. It's like when people, like, could you imagine a player, I haven't played WoW in a long time, but like a new player playing World of Warcraft and being like, man, why can't I've played World of Warcraft for, 20 hours. Why can't I do the hardest raid in the game on nightmare mode or whatever? What the heck? Like, what, they should make that more accessible. And it's like, no, that's the end game content. The whole point of MMOs is to have, like, for them to value your time and for them to have you make this long-term progression. If you put more time in the game, you'll get better. Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Spent a lot of time talking about things I don't like, and also the controversy. But overall,
I think it's a great video.
I believe this is a really, really.
I think the only thing, I'm no lawyer, so I also could be wildly wrong. I think he's wrong about some of the copyright conversation, but I could be mistaken. And then the other thing, the only thing I disagree, like there's 2 things I took issue with this video. The copyright thing, I think he might be wrong, but I also don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not smart. The other thing is the endgame content claim of PokeMMO. And even though I feel like he's wrong there, his sentiment is true. And his his feeling is true, and we need to solve that. The PokeMMO, the game itself, does need to guide players more. We do need to have some sort of direction post the storylines, like the achievement log mentioned.
Really good Pokemon MMO. It's one of the best, if not the best, Pokemon MMO on the market. Personally, I don't think it's the best MMO, but I do think it's really, really, really solid. And I think if you're a fan of Pokemon, you have to try this out. I mean, it's one of those games, like a rite of passage. Like, have you played PokeMMO? No, we'll get on it. Because it's just one of those that you're probably going to enjoy. If you like Pokemon, you're going to like PokeMMO. It's basically the same experience, just enhanced with more players and more things to do. So genuinely, I think check it out. If you guys enjoyed this video, though, I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you subscribe.
This guy has good perspective. He is no casual. He, fell into one of the things, but I think one thing is feeling this is a great video. This guy did a great job. Go like his video. It'll be linked first in the description. Go subscribe to him. Check him out. I think this is a really well put video. We managed to turn a 17-minute video into like a 50-minute video in classic Patrouski style. But I hope you guys enjoyed the yap. Hopefully you learned something. You had some extra insight added, and this wouldn't have been possible without its fam making this video and inspiring this conversation and sharing his perspective. And I think he did a fucking fantastic job. So much love to him. Shout out to him. And yeah, thanks for watching. Like his video, subscribe to him first, and then if you want to, you can like my video, subscribe to me, follow me on Twitch for streams like this, usually Monday through Thursday at 12 p.m. ET, but that's kind of up in the air right now. We're kind of changing our schedule. I upload videos every single day regarding Pokemon. I love this game. I've been playing it for a very, very long time, but there are a lot of issues we still need to solve, and that's really important to talk about. So thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later. Have a fantastic day. Play Pokemon or whatever game you're enjoying today, and have a good one. Peace, Reno. Yo, what's up? Outro Patrouski here, and I wanted to take this time to say thank you to everyone who goes above and beyond and supports my channel. Your names are all listed here. You make it possible for me to make helpful and mildly entertaining content for the game that I love and make it available for free for everyone to enjoy. Thank you so much for allowing me to even be here.